This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house. Welcome back to the House of Hockey podcast. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this week we have lots more hockey to do and watch. And we even, talked to a, what would you call her? A fitness hockey coach.
Yeah.
Motivational recovery. I mean, she does almost everything. So it was really cool to talk to her. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, we interviewed Coach Cali. She is, she's all those things you said, the fitness trainer, recovery. She was a competitive athlete her whole life. We talk about concussions. We talk about playing hockey. She's a goalie.
Preventative.
Yes.
The injuries that could potentially be preventative and what you could do to heal and how long you should take to heal too. So
yeah, it was really interesting to add this element to the podcast. This is a guest we haven't really had on before, the fitness trainer expert on the athlete's body and what goes into hockey players' mind and body and training. So it was a really interesting conversation. She's a lot of fun. I think you guys will really like that. That's coming up in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
But I think we have to start with an update on our bet, because I just know that everybody who listens is waiting with bated breath to hear how I feel about being one step closer to getting a Chicago Blackhawks tattoo.
That's funny.
And how Breezy will be getting no team-specific tattoos.
Of course. Knew that was going to happen. No, just kidding.
No, I'm not rubbing it in. I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's the first thing that went through my head last night when the Leafs lost. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm out.
I was kind of bummed. I was really hoping we'd both have a team advancing to keep our bet alive. I mean, the bet on my half of the side is still going because the Chicago Blackhawks beat the Edmonton Oilers like I said we would after a little bit of hesitation. I had to root for my boys, and after game 3, I knew we were going to beat them. Yeah. And I was a nervous wreck, Breezy, screaming at the TV. Oh my God, I was such a nervous wreck. I couldn't even think straight after we won. It was like my brain couldn't compute that we won the play-in round and we actually are officially in the playoffs now. I was like, what? I don't understand. But I'm really excited. And
really excited.
I have to say that at this point, whatever happens is a cherry on top. I think I said that before. But for us just to be in the playoffs officially makes me a very happy Chicago Blackhawks fan. So anything else that goes on beyond this will just be that much better. That's the attitude I'm taking going into the game against Vegas. That's tonight.
I like that. I think that is a very positive way to look at things. Yes, I like that.
What do you really want to say?
No, I think that's good. I'm just mad that none of my teams made it into the playoffs, which sucks, but at least it's less nerve-wracking. At least I can just kind of chill. But I got to tell you, I think I jinxed everybody. I really do. It's going through my head. Game 1, I was camping, obviously. I brought all my jerseys there, and I was wearing them. Everyone lost. So then I was like, all right, next time I'll be good. And then, it was fine. And then it was the Preds, do or die. And I was like, okay, I know I did, I wore the jersey. There was bad luck, but I'm going to wear my shirt this time. it was still bad luck. And I was like, I'm jinxed. I'm jinxed. And then yesterday I was like, all right, well, let's see here. Do I wear the shirt or do I not wear the shirt? Do I wear a jersey? Do I not wear a jersey? Am I jinxed or did I reverse the jinx? If I
Right.
don't wear it, does that mean? That's what's going through my head. And I wore the shirt because I was told to wear it loud and proud. And I'm still jinxed. It's all my fault.
That's a lot to
Shouldn't
put
have
on
done
you,
it.
Breezy. That's a lot to put on you.
I feel like a lot of people feel that way though.
For sure.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like I'm not alone, but at the same time, I'm just so mad at myself because I should have known, should have stuck with my gut and not worn my shirt. And maybe, just maybe, odds would be different. But here we are.
So what do you think went wrong with Toronto?
They didn't play. That's
Yeah,
for sure. They
that
didn't play at
was
all.
no.
There was who gets freaking shut out on an elimination game. Typical. That's all I gotta say. Typical.
All right, and what
But
about your Preds?
I mean, they just couldn't figure it out either. I mean, it was. I mean, you.
It was
I'm
a
sorry.
more that series was better to watch.
It was better to watch, and if some of the key guys would have stepped up a little bit more, I think it would have been fine. I mean, Roman cannot carry the team on his back, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good players on the team, but if Roman had, he's nominated for the Norris. He has a phenomenal season, and you're telling me that guy doesn't deserve alone, and I'm not being biased, I'm just saying, alone doesn't deserve to go further. His teammates just didn't back him up, and they didn't step up, and I think he played really well, but they just came
Yeah,
up short.
I know. So I was thinking about, I mean, okay, first let me comment on the fact of how you feel like it's all your fault. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Every hockey fan gets that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so right. It is so much more stressful when your team is in the playoffs. Like it's a good stressful, but it's like
Right.
way more stressful. And it is still just as exciting to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, like the NHL playoffs, when your team isn't playing, because like
Mm-hmm.
it's just exciting hockey. Like if you're a true fan of the sport,
Yeah.
people who aren't a true fan would be like, no, it's not. It's only fun when your team's in. And it's like, well, then you're really not a hockey fan. So shut up and your opinion doesn't count here.
Yeah.
So just, go watch the NBA because that's exciting. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I'm really nervous about the series with the Blackhawks in Vegas. And this series, it's like my heart is torn into two pieces
Mm-hmm.
because I really do love that Vegas squad. I love like a lot of the players just as a in the whole sport of hockey. I really love that team and I love the
Yeah.
city. And I love Leonard, as I have said publicly many times, how I think the Blackhawks should have kept him. However, I think this might have been a sign and a blessing in disguise that they have Leonard now, which gives the Blackhawks an inside track on how to
Oh.
score against
Oh.
Leonard and how to get into his head. So we might be able to use this to our advantage. Well, they better, even though that like hurts your ethics and your soul a little bit. It's
Right.
playoff hockey. So like
Yeah.
you've got to pull out all the stops. So this might
Yeah.
be a blessing.
It might be. I think they do have a fighting chance
They do.
because they played a lot. I mean, we talked about it before. They played a lot better than in round one. What is it called? Round
It's
robin or whatever.
it's the
The
play-in
play-ins.
round that wasn't
Yeah.
officially in the playoffs. It's the
Meh,
fucking
meh, meh.
playoffs. It's
Yeah.
all the playoffs. They had to participate in the playoff play-in round. It's the
Right.
playoffs. Sorry.
Say it one more time.
It's the
It's the
playoffs.
playoffs. So I mean, they played a lot better than both of us had anticipated, even
Yes.
though, So at this point, I was talking to my friend this morning, and I was like, he was like, "Who do you think is gonna win?" I was like, "I don't know.
I know.
You never know. Even playoff hockey is unpredictable. Who you think's going to be a great team and can crush it. ultimately could not crush it.
What I do have to call to everybody's attention was that in the play-in round, I think I predicted all the winners except for the Canadiens-Penguin series. That was the only one I'm pretty sure I got wrong. Fact check me on that episode. But I'm pretty sure I picked the Penguins to win against the Canadiens. But everybody else I picked to win.
Okay.
No. I missed the Jets in Calgary. I missed two.
I don't even remember who I said.
You had Calgary. I did pretty well. I'm pretty proud of myself.
So. You know, I'm pretty proud of you too. That's good. I like that. That's good.
Because my opinion means so much in the grand scheme of the hockey playoffs.
At least you're not jinxed like me. It's fine.
I know. I just thought that was funny. I was like, oh, I did pretty well, actually. I should have probably done some kind of pool or something and put some money on it. But if I had done that, I would have lost. Right. That's how it always goes for me. So anyway, let's just roll through this really quick. We'll do our rapid fire. If we have an opinion on what we think is going to happen, we can add it. But if we don't feel we need to, let's talk about the official first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2020.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, we'll start with the Hawks Knights. I've got the Hawks all the way. Winning this series. I think it's going to be, it could be a 7-game series.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Knights.
And Yotes Avs. I want the Yotes. I don't think the Avs are going to pull it out.
I'm going for the Yotes too. Obviously, I want the best team to win because they obviously beat the Preds. So
exactly. That'll at least make you feel better.
Exactly. Fun fact, I actually reached out to Lindsay Fry, who we had on, and I told her, I was like, that one stung. I was like, but I'm happy for you. And she goes, sorry, not sorry. And I was like, wow, say how you really feel. I'm just kidding.
True hockey player, just giving it to you.
Yep, let's do Yotes.
All right, I've got Flames beating Dallas. Dallas looked ridiculous in the Robin.
I don't even think they know how to play anymore. I have the Flames. And if they lost Tyler Seguin, I mean, he's been unfit to play for however long. So
and Bishop Flames, too.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with Segs. Yeah, I mean, I just don't even know what the case could be. Like,
I know.
I mean, the dude looks like he's in tip-top shape. It must be just some undisclosed injury at this point. I mean, I have no idea. So, on that note.
Yeah, because he was in the arena watching. So if he had the virus, I don't think they would let him in there to watch.
Anyway, Flames. I got him.
Flames. Blues or Canucks? I said the Canucks earlier today to somebody, but I'm going to change that and I'm going to go with the Blues.
You know, this one's tough. I feel like I'm going to stick with the Canucks just because my boy Tyler Toffoli's on there. He hasn't been playing. He also had an unfit to play or whatever, but I got to go with the Canucks.
Okay.
I got to stick with it.
All right, let's go out east. You have Philly, or are you sticking with the Habs? Philly is on fire. I'm going with Philly.
They are
so
on fire.
Do the dogs. The dogs agree as well.
They do agree. This one's tough. Like you said, Philly is on fire. I feel like I want to stick with the Habs because they're surprising people, and if they were able to beat the Penguins, Penguins really, I don't think they played that well though. So, personal opinion. So, I'm gonna stick with the Habs, and I'm probably gonna regret that, but I'm gonna stick with the Habs.
All right.
I have no money bet on this, so I'm fine just staying with that.
Me neither. I'm not betting money.
Yeah.
No.
Like no tattoo on the line for me at this point.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was dreaming of, I was like, I'm already fantasizing about what tattoo I would get, where I would get it, what would I get, how big, do I get just Blackhawks? Do I get the Indian head?
Are they going to ultimately change their logo?
No, they're not. They already said no. They work directly with the Native American group that like, and they give their blessing. No, that they're not changing that logo. But
Fantastic.
I've been trying to figure out what I'm gonna get already, and like maybe this is some like good manifestation that we might win the Stanley Cup. But anyway, I digress. Tampa Lightning, or the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm picking
Jackets.
Blue Jackets for sure.
Yep. Blue Jackets.
They've got it. Islanders.
Caps and Islanders?
Yeah. I'm going Islanders. With that. Yep. Me too.
Let's go. Come
Let's
on.
Go.
Synergy.
Yeah. Washington looked real like wobbly and disjointed in their in their round robin play. And the Islanders got that fire going, and I don't know. I think all the teams that were in that round robin are going to be in for a really rude awakening these first two games in all of the series across the board, because all of those teams are amped and like gelling. They've all had 4 games, if 3 to 4 games and 5, right? Blue Jackets had 5, right? So, or was it 4? No, that was 4. 5, whatever.
That was 5. Yeah.
So everybody is like gelling, they're ready, they know their lines, they know what they're doing. And these round robin teams, like the top teams, I don't know, they looked like they didn't give a shit what happened. And that's gonna really affect, it does, it's really gonna affect how they come into these series. They're gonna have a tough time. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're gonna have a tough time if you're not playing in that mentality of I want to win. All right, anyway, I will get off my soapbox. Canes and Bruins. I've got the Canes. The Bruins, if you're oh my God, if you're a Bruins fan right now, you're shaking in your snow boots. Like,
you really are. I mean, the Canes honestly could take it all. I mean, they're gelling. They're good. They're strong. They're good. I mean, I'm a fan. They tailgate. I'll be tailgating with them. I mean, let's go.
Let's go. All right, those are our predictions. I'm super excited. Let's go. What do you say? How do you say it? Let's go. Well, we have a sponsor for this week's episode. It's called Playbook Products at playbookproducts.com. This is a really cool concept, Breezy, don't you think?
I do. I think it is a genius idea, and I'm kind of mad that I didn't even think about it. But they are, I mean, it's a great gift idea for any sports fan, really, not just hockey fans. I mean, they have something for every sports fan, and I mean, take it away. What it is.
So they print like the X's and O's, the plays, like if you would draw it on a board, they take like famous plays from any sport and they show the diagram, and you can print that on coasters, posters, like drinking glasses, all kinds of really cool stuff. And I saw this and I was like, oh my God, I need a poster for my like home podcast office of the like one of the Blackhawks plays. That would be so cool, because people would come over and be like, or people watching would be like, hey, what's that play behind you? And I'd be like, well, let me tell you. So,
and you get to relive that play over and over and over again, which is awesome. So cool. And such like a cool memorabilia to have as a sports fan. So
what would you get? What's like a memorable play for you?
I would say my favorite play as of recent would be when Tyler Toffoli was on the Kings, and he got the buzzer beater, 0.9 seconds left on the clock to beat the Bruins, and everyone freaked out because the Bruins thought, no fighting chance at this point. So it was probably one of the coolest moments. And I think about it, I would say monthly at least. At least.
At least. I think I would get Patrick Kane's overtime Stanley Cup winning goal from 2010 against the Flyers. He scored like a couple minutes into the first overtime. The game was tied, and he scored it, and that's when we brought the cup back to Chicago. And it being Patrick Kane was like so extra special for that 2010 series. Oh my god, he was so young then too. It's just so crazy. But that's what I would get. I would get that on a big poster, or I would pick out like 4 different plays on coasters, but then I would frame the coasters, because I think that would be cool.
Yeah. It would be cool too if you can get like a poster or something like that, and then have that player or the team or whatever it is sign it, frame it on the wall. There you go.
Boom, done. That's a goal. We gotta make that happen.
Yep. We gotta order it.
Gotta order it. Make it happen. And if you want to order that Patrick Kane play, or that Tyler Toffoli play, or Gretzky's 93 OT goal, or any of your team's famous plays or goals, just look for it at playbookproducts.com. Check them out, www.playbookproducts.com, and get your playbook product today.
And if you do, let them know that we sent you there.
This episode, we are bringing in a new take that we haven't talked about yet on the House of Hockey podcast on the hockey lifestyle with Coach Cali. She is a personal trainer, yoga teacher, and she specializes in hockey strength and recovery. And her take on fitness recovery really applies to everyone, including, athletes who are working on physical fitness, and just anybody who's trying to be fit, and especially hockey players. So welcome, Coach Cali. Welcome to the house.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I've been listening, first time caller, long time fan.
I love it. We love it. And this is a unique topic that Breezy and I haven't had anybody on to discuss, sort of like the mental and physical aspect of hockey and the game on the body of the athletes. And you're an athlete. Tell us a little bit. You're an avid skier, competitive horseback rider, and you are even a semi-pro snowboarder, and you also play hockey. But tell us a little bit about your athletic journey.
So I grew up in Lake Tahoe, a small town called Truckee. Most people don't know what it is. I say where the Donner Party ended, ate each other. We actually had that in history, so it's not that off. So the biggest journey for me was, I pretty much hit the slopes. As soon as I turned 2, my parents had me skiing. So I was avid into skiing. I am old enough that snowboarding was not allowed on most ski resorts when I was a kid. It wasn't until I hit junior high that they finally allowed snowboarders, because, snowboarders were the bad kids, So as soon as I got to try snowboarding, I just fell in love with the sport, and I became a park rider. So doing all the rails and stuff, because that was something that I really enjoyed. And then I got to see people like Shaun White come up all the time. That was when I actually got to meet Wayne Gretzky once, because he was skiing with his family.
Wait! Tell us that story right now. We need a hockey story of how you met Gretzky, and then go back to your athletic stuff.
Of course. So that was one of the biggest ones for me, is that everybody at the ski resort was being like, "Oh my God, do you know who that is?" And I was probably 6 or 7 at the time. And he was just there with his family, and I was just like, okay. And then I got on the ski lift, and he was right next to me. And so I sat on the ski lift with him, and and he was just asking me random questions. And I was like, oh, you have a fun accent. And I was this small town kid. I had no idea. And then I get off the chairlift, and my dad looks at me and he goes, "That's the legend hockey player." And I was like, oh. So he was super nice. And, I guess whenever you're a kid, hockey players are so much nicer.
Yeah. When you're
they want to sign everything.
So did you get an autograph?
I didn't. at the time, I was just like, I want to go skiing now. Forget it.
Oh, man. And nowadays, knowing who it was and knowing his history, you would have been like, can I have you sign everything up for me?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I probably would have run and got it tattooed, you know?
Hey, I'm right there with you. I probably would too.
Would you write 99 on like everything that I own and then I'll just keep it forever?
Yeah. I second that. Anyway, continue on with your athletic journey.
So pro snowboarder. At 16 actually was like, I'm not going to do school anymore. So I went to a charter school. I got it approved, thank goodness to Tony Hawk, to have snowboarding and horseback riding be my PE. So I was on the slope and in the stable as much as I possibly could at the time. And then I ended up getting not one, not two, but 5 concussions within a year span. From horseback riding and from hitting my head. Because, you know, at the time when you're snowboarding, helmets weren't a thing, you know, so it was like the same thing as hockey where, you know, pads and stuff didn't really come along for a long time. So I had my doctor finally tell me that at 17, and he's like, you either need to stop now and maybe, you know, you'll have a normal, healthy life, or you can continue and I can't guarantee that you'll live past the next one. So here's where I'm going to get all teary. So this is where I had to, as a teenager, redecide my whole life. Because I just was for sure that I was going to be a pro snowboarder and that was what I was going to do with my life and like go to the Olympics. And that was my whole idea for my life. And then everything came to a screeching halt. So that was the biggest thing that I learned. That was the darkest place in my life, I want to say, where it was just like your complete identity is gone. Like it was something that I never thought that I would have to go through. So I ended up finding a really good therapist, personal trainer, and a physical therapist. And my physical therapist at the time was like, you really need to try yoga. I think it would really help you with the mind, getting your mind back together. Because brain traumas are so different that you actually have to connect, you know, brain stems back together after something's happened from slamming your dome into stuff. Wow. So this is why one of the big reasons why I have taken this fitness journey as well is that, you know, seeing players like Crosby and like how fast he came back from some of these brain injuries was really devastating to me, just because I know how much pressure is put on an athlete to get back to normal when really we should be taking the time, and it's really hard. When as a kid, I didn't get to play much hockey because I had to choose between 2 expensive sports already. And hockey's really expensive, especially when I was a kid. Like it was hard to get anything.
So do you still live in Truckee area or do you travel there often?
My dad still lives there, so I travel at least twice a year, if not more. I definitely, at least before Corona, I was going to at least 7 Sharks games a year.
Oh.
I have family in San Jose too, so it's nice to be able to just crash on their couch if I want to go see a game.
Any pond hockey up in Tahoe area that you've ever tried out?
Tons, actually. Like where I live, there was a pond like right across the way that would freeze over every time, and that's how I found out a lot about hockey. Was like, you know, a lot of my friends would go play it over there. And then Mammoth has a big outdoor what is it,
pond hockey like tournament?
Yes, tournament, that's the word. Got it, nailed it.
We struggle with words regularly on this podcast
all the time.
Okay. I couldn't think of the word exhibition game the other day. I was like, it's the fake game. It's the game that doesn't count. It's
like the preseason game that's not preseason.
It's like for fun, but not for fun. I don't know, whatever.
Right, exactly.
So then how did you get into playing hockey? And honestly, it's pretty incredible that you're even back on the mountain snowboarding after that very serious news from your doctor at such a young age about the concussions and stuff. So how did you transition into playing hockey?
So originally, I think as everybody on here has ever said, is that we all found the love of the Mighty Ducks. And yep. I absolutely loved Kat. She was like the badass goalie that you like wanted. She was like pretty and like awesome. And I was like, okay, she's like my new idol. So it started there. And then me and my friends ended up getting rollerblades and going to play on frozen lakes when we could. Just trying whatever we could, but, you know, not knowing anything about the game. And then when I finally got a little bit older, the Sharks came. So then there was more options of like where to go and who to talk to and like actually learn like, you know, how to play the game besides like a flying bee that doesn't even exist.
No.
But so that's where it all started. And then I kind of gave up on it all because I was just like, well, I can't afford another brain injury and I can't afford to start a new sport that I can't continue. So I ended up finding like all kinds of back and forth and always going to games and being really interested and having friends that were into it. And then finally the Sharks had a fantasy camp, which I think all NHL teams have now. So I really wanted to go be a part of that. So I was like, I'm just going to go play. So I did the like learn to play and then like had like people try to teach me how to play hockey. And I just never got into it.
Yeah.
So finally I saw this flyer for my coach who was doing like clinics for little kids on how to become a goalie. And I was like, oh man, I've always wanted to be a goalie because Kat and I loved her. And like when I played soccer, I always wanted to be the goalie because you were the only one that like could hit people pretty much. But anyway.
And you don't have to run or skate. You just can like hang out.
But I found out that goalies have to be one of the best skaters on the ice. Like,
yeah, it's true.
It's mind blowing. We actually have to have way more skill. But I found a coach right away, and I was just like, okay. So I went to like my local like Play It Again, and I was like, I found some some goalie pads that were my size, and I just went and started the clinic. So I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I had balance because I had skated before, but like I didn't know like anything like crossovers or any of that stuff. And then I ended up finding through my goalie coach, another coach from Ontario who was coming, and he taught me some of the most amazing stuff about how to be a goalie and like a beer league goalie. Cause I don't know, like I live in Southern California. So down here, like we get the ass end of like late night skates, and we get like no coaches really want to help because they're like, well, the kids are going to make more money and they're going to go places. We're like, you're just a beer league player and what are you going to do?
Yeah. Right.
Are you really going to take me that seriously? So it was cool to have a coach really actually dive into how to better myself as a beer league player. And I mean, I'm rookie and I'm not going anywhere far, but I definitely want to be the best of my ability, you know? So that was definitely something that I was truly grateful for. So it was very cool. And in the crease, goalie training is, I still follow them. And oh man, they have 500 rinks within like 10 miles.
That's crazy.
So do you have
3?
So do you have like weird goalie things? Because you know,
oh yeah,
goalies are always very unique.
You can say it. We're weird as fuck. Yeah. That was when I found out that I was truly home. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, all my weirdness all my life that everybody's been like, oh, you're so weird. And I was like, I'm finally home. Like, I finally found my people.
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. My pipes are my best friends, and they are Thelma and Louise, and we go down together. Like, yeah. I know that they save my ass most of the time. Especially in beer league.
Yeah. Have you come across any goalie that you're like, wow, you're really weird, or you have like
really weird superstitions that was like really out there. We're like, I think we're kind of searching for like the weirdest thing a goalie's ever said.
I mean, goalies are weird. It's just kind of like, I feel like there's no way to out top how weird we are. I have definitely found myself anytime I go to a professional game or even like a beer league game, like I always watch the goalie, because some of them will slap the post. Some of them have weird like twitches where you actually think like they have Tourette's or something because they're constantly like shaking their head. I had a goalie that was in a semi-pro team that won 3 games and would not let the equipment manager or himself wash his gear. So he put it right back into his bag. And that thing you could smell for miles. I think that's probably how he won, though. Like, nobody wanted to score on him because they're like, you can smell you from like Pigpen. They could just like, it was like that stench around him.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, the jock straps I think are a big one, but I think that goes for players too that just don't wash them all season. They kind of bet people stuff for like after the games. For example, like, like if I win this, then, you have to buy me new pads, or, if we win this series, like stuff like that for motivation, I feel. But I feel like the rituals beforehand are the weirdest thing. Like, like having to put on one skate before the other. I think for a lot of us, like the sweatband in your helmet is like, you're supposed to wash that all the time. And I've met multiple goalies that don't. And it's just like, man, that is so gross.
Oh no.
And like, acne purposes.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because we're chicks. I found this out by being a goalie. You actually hit the post to see how far away you are from each post so that you can make sure that you're in the center. Yeah, right.
What's your on ice ritual? Do you have any things that you do besides the post thing?
I always thank Thelma and Louise for having my back. That's my post, in case you didn't know. And then my biggest thing is I always have to shovel. Like, I'll always like shave the ice to where I like it, and then I have to shovel it, but I have to shovel it from left to right.
Okay.
It's super weird.
We've heard it all.
And then normally if I would be scared to be mic'd up ever because I whistle, I yell at people. I'm like, ooh, that was really good. Or I'll just like the chirping that I say, like sometimes it's just like so bad because I'm just tripping over my words. Because when I get out on the ice, I try to turn off my brain. Like, it is literally like one of my therapies. Like, I don't have to think about anything but that play in that moment.
Right.
Besides if I get scored on and then I think about it for like the next 3 weeks.
Right.
But that's a goalie thing.
That is a good therapy, being present. Hockey as like the new meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is my meditation because I legitimately can turn off my brain of everything else.
Yeah.
It's nice to be out on the ice too, just because it's like, one, it's crazy that we can even do that. Like, these thin little blades are carrying us. That's fine. And then 2, like, you don't have to be pretty. It doesn't matter what you look like under the mask. Nobody knows. So it's like, it's nice to not have to worry about what you look like in that moment, especially when you're like dripping water all over yourself and stuff.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more then about how you got into personal training and that story of your life and how you apply some of these things you're mentioning to the people you train as well as to your own game of hockey.
So I found fitness, I found it as soon as I got all my concussions at 17. I've had body dysmorphia since I was very young. And I've also been I've done a lot of self-mutilation.
Will you tell people listening what body dysmorphia is in case they aren't familiar with that?
Of course. It's one of my biggest things that I think all of us actually have. We just don't know it. Body dysmorphia is when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see yourself as bigger or not as pretty, or you just see things that aren't there. It's almost like an optical illusion. And it's just your brain's interpretation of what it thinks it sees, which is, from some people, they've said that it could have been from my concussions that I built this. I think it's just that, you know, I was never a skinny mini girl, and I got boobs at, you know, in 4th grade. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen Now and Then, but I was totally that girl. I was the tomboy who was like taping down my boobs so that my friends wouldn't see me as a girl.
Yeah, you were Christina Ricci in that movie. I love that movie.
It's one of my favorites because it was just like the first time that I felt like somebody actually understood what I was going through. But yeah, so the main thing is that it's your brain tricking you into thinking that, I mean, it's a lot of where people get anorexia and bulimia from. It's because they see themselves in the mirror in a different way. Like they can be bones and still want to not eat because they see themselves as fat. Fat is a 4-letter, or is a 3-letter word that I think we should change completely. But I've noticed it even more in the fitness world now. Is it's really overtraining is becoming the new fad diet, where people will work out super hard, or, you know, a lot of athletes that I see are training 2 to 3 times a day already, and then they'll train on top of that. Like they'll go put on like a plastic suit and go run. So it's really one of those things that we all need to work on. But so I found fitness at a very young age, and it also was something that helped me be a better athlete. So it was one of the things that I really found, like, I hated it. Like, I chose not to go to PE anymore because I hated recreational, like anything in the gym was so monotonous and boring and awful, and I could never understand why people could spend 2 hours in the fucking gym. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then I found powerlifting or weightlifting, and it changed my life completely. For me, it was like, finally I found something that was like, hey, fuck cardio, right? And I was like, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I finally felt like, okay, now I can understand why people are doing this. And I was addicted to the results of what it was. Because, you know, deadlifting, weight and squatting and all the 4 major ones can really help improve your game. Like, I have one athlete that he was having a really hard time with power skating and really getting any sort of speed. And he thought it was because of edges and stuff like that. And then we got him in the gym, and he was squatting finally he was squatting his body weight, which is something that we all should do. And he was finally able to shave that time off of his record. So it was one of those things where it's just like, once you find it, you find it. But then I found yoga, and that has changed my life. I definitely don't call mine yoga. It's kind of like the fuck yoga of it all.
Love it.
Because yoga has a very like, oh, you're supposed to be super teeny and you're flexible. And it's like, I'm not flexible, and I'm a goalie. So it's even weirder because I can't do the splits. Working on it. You can't actually get there. But I have long femurs, so we're going to blame it on that.
Yeah.
So yoga has been one of the things that has changed my life too. It's really about mobility. Mobility is something that helps us recover faster. And yoga is one of the things that has retrained my brain on how to think of things and how to do things. I volunteer and work with vets. I do a yoga certification, or I did a yoga certification that works strictly with them, called Connected Warriors. So it's a free program to all vets to help them recover and get back to normal. It's free to their friends and family, which I love. And it taught me so much about how to be a better teacher, instructor, person in general, because they don't trust you. And I've learned that with my athletes as well, is that if you put them in anything that's uncomfortable, they're going to freak out and get the hell out of it as soon as they can. And it's very vulnerable to lay on the floor. But they actually say laying on the floor with your head, with your chin pushed down, so you have that double chin looking real sexy, can actually reset our spines from all the texting and driving and computering stuff we do, because we're doing this. Like we're literally, we just need to bring it all back.
Yeah. I agree with that. So no, you're fine. You're fine. So let's talk about a little bit like some hockey injuries. And I mean, we've heard a lot of, stories by, stuff going wrong and freak accidents. I mean, there was a freak accident last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs game where Jake Muzzin had kind of hit his face a little weird and his spine or not his spine, but they were worried about his neck. So how would you say, or how would you go about like an injury like that and trying to help a player, whether it's recover or maybe even prevent an injury from that happening?
Ooh, that's a good one. I always say go to your doctor first. I work with a lot of physical therapists too, so I definitely always say start there, because they're going to have the best idea of what your injury is. But after going through all of that, and if you're ready, strength training is one of the biggest ones that we can do to prevent ourselves from getting injured, helping with force and blow and stuff like that. Like with neck injuries, like our necks are so crippled compared to what they used to be, because we don't have to turn around anymore to back our cars up because we have a camera. So neck stuff is actually one of the ones that I actually do teach a lot, just because it's one of those ones that it's just, we really do need to strengthen the muscles and the little muscles that are underneath the big muscles, and making sure that we're always keeping them mobile. And really, we should have a stretching practice for at least 10 to 15 minutes in the morning every day of just things that we should be doing. Those are the biggest ones. For recovery, for injuries, it's all different. That's the reason that people get so injured, is because their muscles aren't actually warm. So when they actually get out there, that's why a lot of goalies tear their groin, is because they didn't actually warm up before they got out there. They just did a couple stretches on the ice, which is freezing your muscles again. Even if it's hot yoga, if your muscles aren't warmed up, you're going to rip stuff. Like your muscles aren't meant to just go from 0 to 60. We're not cars.
No. What are your thoughts on pills, prescription medications, CBD, like pain management? Because in the sport of hockey and even outside of it, we've heard lots of stories of athletes who are getting addicted to pain pills, and it leads to all these other, not for everybody, but it can lead to a lot of other addictions and traumas. And a lot of that is, of course, like connected to the mind. So how do you feel about, all of that? And even maybe, the league allowing marijuana to be legal in the NHL or any of the other professional sports as a means for healing?
Let's see.
That was a lot. That was like a lot of thoughts I had about all of those things.
But how do I put this nicely and that it's all bullshit? All of it's placebo. Like, you see the tapes on people, like that's all just placebo. If it makes you feel better, go for it. But the pain medications are pain is a reason, that is our body telling us that like something's fucked up. Mm-hmm. So really we should be listening to that. Because pain is the indicator. And if we keep moving through pain, then it's only going to make it worse, right? Like pain is like telling our brains like, hey, this sucks and I don't like it anymore. So just masking it is only making it worse. For me, like one of the hardest times for me is after the season's over and you see the injury list and mm-hmm. people playing with broken feet and, broken fingers and, busted faces. Like it is mind boggling how, it's supposed to be like, you have to get back out there and you have no choice. For me, I worked in pharmaceuticals and I know how money driven that industry is. That for me, I had to get out. And that's also why I ended up being a personal trainer, is because I was like, oh, you can heal yourself without pharmaceuticals. it's crazy how fast they want you to recover and be okay. And it's not, and sometimes you just have to be like, it's not okay. That's why I have not personally used it, but like the CBD and THC options that are out there, I do think are definitely better in the fact that you're rubbing it on your skin and not actually taking it. So like, you know, you can get that instant pain relief. Like I love icy hot. I think I'm addicted to it. But
Same.
you know, like those are things that we can be doing to our bodies that it's not taking the pain sensory away. We want that pain sensory because we need to know what's wrong with our body so we can fix it. And the human body is meant to fix itself. If you're taking an Advil or, you know, any sort of pain reliever consistently, normally it's some sort of Band-Aid. So there's something else that we could be working on in order to actually make you feel better. In the NHL, it's too hard because, you know, they want results and they want it quick. So it's definitely one of those things that I feel like if they had more time to recover, which it sounds like they're starting to think about, pads are a lot lighter, but also a lot denser than they used to be. And ice hurts, regardless of what anybody says. Most of the injuries, even like we talked about him already, but like Crosby, like some of his most crazy concussions were actually from people's shoulders or elbows, and only because the pads are made so well now, but they're so light, but it's like the body isn't meant to take that kind of force moving at that kind of speed.
Right. And the game is faster, so the guys are moving faster on the ice, even with the blade. Like blade technology is improved so they can go even faster too. It's true, right?
Yeah. I don't feel like players should be penalized for taking the time that they need. But they're also being told like, oh, you're not masculine enough if you're not back out there. So that's one of the stigmas we're trying to get rid of. In this hockey community, there is sled hockey, and
that's right.
They are incredible. And I volunteer for a team down here that are the Ducks. But there is life outside of hockey that still involves hockey. So this hockey community is so deep in its just embrace of everybody that it's cool to see, like, you know, kids in wheelchairs be able to play hockey, like, you know, and kids that never thought that they'd be able to be on ice get to be on ice. So that's definitely something that touches my heart. But back to the number one of my life that is the biggest heartbreaker ever, Sharks. So I grew up in Lake Tahoe, and they were the first team to come to Northern California, which was a godsend to me. I've always liked sharks as an animal. It's just, they're so badass, but yet so like angelic, that it was one of those things that I've always loved and always found that I was drawn to. And then we got teal. God, it's like the coolest color ever. But anyways,
it is a cool color.
The team has not always been the greatest, but we do our best to try, and the heart is the biggest thing. No, but in reality, the Shark Tank and the fan base has been one of the biggest things to help my life. I have met some of my best friends at the tank or through Sharks. We even have like a Sharks Southern California fan club. So we go and we watch games together, or we go to the pond we go to Honda Center and we go together. I will not go to Staples ever again. It was the most terrifying thing in my life. But glad
you guys are both like shaking your heads like, yeah, it is. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, your Weird. Kings fans can be a little aggressive.
And the thing is not all of them know the game. Like, it's kind of Southern California mentality, and now Vegas, that they don't actually know the game. They're just like, yay, we won something, we're good. But for me, I went to Boston and everybody warned me about Boston, and of course my Sharks lost, so that's fine. But Boston was nothing compared to the Staples Center. Like,
really? Huh.
I never once did I feel uncomfortable, and I've seen Boston throw down with their own fan base. So.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, there's a huge rivalry between the Ducks and the Kings, and then the Kings and the Sharks. So anytime either one of those teams, and now Vegas, Kings fans hate Vegas, but anytime one of those opposing teams comes into Staples Center, I mean, it's an all-out war. Just given the history that, you know, the three California teams have had with each other, but yeah, I would say that there's a lot of fans that go to Kings games because it's becoming such a popular sport in Southern California and even in California in general, that they don't necessarily know the game, but they think they know the game and they want to know the game, but they're not the friendliest of crowds that could potentially walk in the building.
Obviously, Breezy is a Kings fan, and I like her because we have a fucking podcast together. But I have in my time now, like being that I live in LA, I've met a lot more Kings fans, and they are good. There are good people in there, but they are fierce with those rivalries, and they take that shit serious.
And I don't think I'm never gonna hear Chloe ever again in my life.
Did you say Chloe?
Yeah, that Chloe Kings incident is gonna go down. Like, I'm probably gonna die hearing about that.
What incident? What am I missing?
During the playoffs, like the last time the Sharks Kings played, right? I think it was the first cup. Whatever, they've got two. Let's talk about it.
We don't have to. I want to see Big Joe win a cup, so
I do too. But Chloe, one of the players on the Sharks, put his stick over the bench and tried to touch the puck, and that has been the thing, and it didn't get called. So like Kings fans have been pissed off about it forever. They ended up winning the game, so it was one of those things where it's like it didn't do anything, so I don't get why you're so upset. But I mean, he is kind of a pain in the ass, but so good looking.
Do you follow women's hockey at all? Or like, you know, do you work in the, you know, promotion of younger girls getting into the sport and stuff like that, like advocacy for that kind of thing? Or where do you stand with, you know, the professional side of the game for women?
We have the Lady Ducks down here because, you know, we're affiliated with the Ducks because of the goals. The Lady Ducks are definitely something that I definitely enjoy watching. But like, you know, there's incredible women athletes like Kendall Coyne, who is an amazing speed skater. And now she's, you know, announcing for the Sharks. And then Shannon Sabatos is my favorite goalie as a fucking female. But not even as just a female, you know, she's broken into playing with the big boys. So I am all about chicks wanting to do bigger things. I believe in women empowerment in general. Because I really do believe that we all should be out there together. Especially since they say 91% of all women hate their bodies. So as a personal trainer, I feel like we should not be hating ourselves. And normally it's from our own personal hate that we take on reasons for why we judge other women. So for me, it's like getting out and being in hockey where you don't have to be pretty. Like I said, like you can just play is so important. I've noticed a triple in the number of women that are on my rookie league. It's more women than men now, which is pretty impressive. It doesn't really matter how you get into it. Like I have a lot of girls that are like, oh, well, my boyfriend really likes it. And they were just like, I don't care how you got into the game. Like, I'm glad you're here. I work closely. I'm an ambassador for Lift the Mask of the Goalie Guild. So lifting the stigma on brain traumas and, you know, needing mental health stuff is definitely one of the big things that I do. And there is a bunch of girl goalies that are just owning the game right now. And one of the ones that I actually have the honor of playing with on a regular weekly basis. She's 16 and she is just an absolutely phenomenal goalie. She wants to do big things, and I think that it's a big deal. And oh man, it was heartbreaking last year when, you know, a lot of the female pro hockey players all took, you know, a stand and said that they weren't getting paid enough. Mm-hmm. It's heartbreaking to hear that, you know, most of them aren't even able to pay their rent with playing hockey. And it's just like, we shouldn't be punished because we have vaginas and can't skate as fast.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've said it multiple times here on the podcast that watching women play at the highest level is just as exciting as watching the NHL, in my opinion. And I'm sure, it's taken me until I was this age to actually see a women's game of like the professional level. So that's crazy in and of itself. We definitely need to have more conversations and promotion for the sport for women.
Yeah. 100%.
Tell us more about the goalie guild, right? And the lift the mask. Tell us a little bit more about that. And, what do people need to know about people who have mental health issues or, need some help on the mental side of things? And, how do you describe getting rid of that negative stigma around mental health?
So the Goalie Guild is actually a book written by Justin and, oh man, that's great. I'll come back to it. But anyways, they wrote books on pretty much how to own the game. And it's got a goalie that looks like he's like meditating, which they dive into in the books, is just how to the mind-body connection of it all. And then they ended up starting Lift the Mask, which is a nonprofit to help goalies get any sort of mental health assistance that they can. So they help with getting them therapy or different types of help out there. So for me, I believe that everybody should have a therapist. I think that it's one of the biggest things that we can do is we can't heal ourselves without healing our mind first. Because it's all about perception. It's all about how we see life and how we see things. And if we're always constantly seeing the negative in things, or, me having concussions and seeing so many athletes go down such a terrible road, the amount of suicides that we've seen, just with mental health and having it not be manly to talk about feelings is one of the biggest things for me that's really hard to understand. But not to understand, because as a female, I've always been a tomboy. I've always wanted to fit in with the boys, so I never wanted to seem girly ever. So I've had to overcome my own stigmas on what I thought was brave or strong, or, asking for help is actually one of the strongest things that we can do. And it's cool to have somebody, something like Lift the Mask to be able to go to that can actually help us not only start with a place, but also start with a comfort, it's a community too, where like it helps us be in a comfortable space where we can open up. Because so many of us struggle with things and depression. And I think they said like it's over 90% of people have some sort of depression or anxiety. And then on top of that, now we've been locked up for so long, we've been in quarantine. So they're talking about, the self-talk is becoming even worse right now. So there is tons of options out there, but it's that whole stigma that asking for help is not okay, and like you're not masculine if you have depression or if you're anxious about something, or you're not feminine enough if you don't cry about certain things, or if things don't affect you. And like it's all these things that it's just like there's so many people to help you, and don't go about it alone. Like I don't know where I would have been if I didn't have my family and therapists and physical therapists and other outlets to go when I was told that I couldn't do something that I had worked so hard for my whole life. That it's nice to have so many open conversations about this and to have so many places to go with it. I know that even the NHL is starting to push more on mental health stuff and making it a bigger deal in concussion awareness. So it's cool that we have all of this stuff to go to now. Like it's all at our fingertips. We don't even have to like, we don't have to ask for help in like real life. We can do it online.
Before we go into our final 2 firing questions, I think, and you know it's coming, without spilling out all of your secret sauce, what would you say for all of the parents or young people who are playing or who want to continue their career? What piece of advice would you give on making sure that their bodies and mental health and just make sure that they continue on the right path so they don't get into like a little rut where they could potentially be heading down a wrong road when it comes to mental health, or just not allowing their body to heal? Do you have any advice for that?
Yes. So the biggest one that I have is rest is so crucial, and rest days are one of the ones that everybody, like I said, overtraining is one of the biggest things that people do, but really listening to our bodies, like your body knows best on what it needs. So for me, it's always taking rest, but also listening to your body. So knowing when your body doesn't want to rest, because there's a complete difference between pain and discomfort, which you need to find the line on. Because pain is something that we need to listen to, where discomfort is just like, oh, I did too many sit-ups or like burpees, or my coach makes us like snail drag across the ice, and that's like the worst thing on the planet. But the biggest thing for me is taking rest, definitely finding, some sort of outlet, either mobility or yoga or something along those lines to help you recover, and also giving your body that time to recover, and also finding an off ice coach that's as good as your on ice coach, because what we do off ice is just as important as what we do on ice. So that's the biggest thing for me.
I like it. Well said. And you didn't give too much of your secret sauce away, because obviously that comes
but rest,
with
damn it.
Yeah, but rest. All right, so the 2 firing questions. Who would you say is your hunk of hockey?
This is hard because I know you guys always ask this question. For me, my go-to is always Stalock. He's a goalie for the Wild. He actually got sliced by a skate on his calf, and they didn't know if he was going to come back. And now he just had a shutout in the playoffs. Like, come on now. For me, that's just sexy. I like the underdog, the recovery. Big Ben is one of my big favorites. He's tall, dark, and handsome, and makes the saves. I feel like goalies are always, Holtby is one of my favorite. I mean, I love them all. Pecorine. Yeah. But if I'm going off of a true goalie, I feel like you always have to say that you love your D. So Hedman is definitely one of my other favorites. I know I didn't say one Shark.
It's okay. It doesn't have to.
I respect that. I respect that a lot.
I don't love my Sharks, and I'm sorry, and I love him, and I believe that Burns was great at one point, but I definitely hope the Kraken take him.
Oh, that is okay. So that I have never heard that before.
It's the only way that we can get him out of that huge contract and open up some cap space.
That's true. It is true.
Wow.
Sorry, guys. I know it's the unpopular combo, but
I love it.
We need to rebuild, man. This team needs to be imploded from the inside, and we'll start over, and we'll see you in 10 years.
10 years.
That's honesty about your team. I understand.
I've been a fan for so long. I know that we're bullshit. I get what the Shark is choking on. I get it.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah. You need some new chum there, huh?
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Who's your favorite hockey lady? I think you mentioned her earlier in the podcast, but I might be wrong.
Shannon Sabatos is probably one of my top. Kendall Coyne, of course, for her speed and just she's an overall badass. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, because I have to, Hillary Knight, because she was brave enough to show off her body in the Sports Illustrated.
We're big fans of her here. We envy her abs.
Yep.
And
like
abs
the best
are made
way.
in the kitchen. She eats right. I wish I had a personal chef.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cali. Tell everybody where they can follow you on social media, website, if they want to work with you.
All of the things.
Yeah.
So Instagram is definitely for the youngins is my biggest one. It's at Coach California, or I just started one at the Teeny Tendy. So you can follow me on either. If you want to follow me for fitness stuff, you have one. And if you want to follow me for just my goalie journey, you can. And then I also have Fit by California is my website. So you can come and get fit with me. Woo!
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and everyone be sure to give her a follow.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.